So this thing, Kosmos 482, a high-tech capsule, was built to survive even the most extreme heat of another planet. But something went wrong. It never made it out of Earth's orbit. For over 50 years, it drifted silently around the planet, forgotten until now. In May 2025, gravity finally pulled it down. It's coming home, built to survive re-entry and unpredictable enough to crash anywhere. No warning, no parachute. Just a 1,000-pound sphere falling from the sky, a human-made meteorite capable of causing chaos. In 1972, this funny-looking ball was sent on a Venus-bound mission. Now, Venus is like Earth's evil twin. It's similar in size, but that's where the similarity ends. It's the hottest planet in the solar system, where temperatures reach 860 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt lead. Atmospheric pressure is about 93 times greater than Earth's, which is like being 3,000 feet underwater and you feel like you're in a trash compactor. And the atmosphere itself is made of carbon dioxide, with clouds that literally rain sulfuric acid. So yeah, it's pretty bad. Yet Kosmos 482 was fully expected to reach it and land. Not for long though. A type of self-destruct scouting mission. The spacecraft was designed to land and transmit data, hopefully for at least a few minutes, on the surface that crushes, bakes, and basically dissolves anything that touches it. How? Well, it came with heat shields for the fiery plunge, a mini AC to cool just long enough, and armor tough enough to handle Venus's brutal environment. It was truly a high-tech reinforced vault built for a one-way trip. And this was in the early 70s, mind you. Fun fact, even today, we've never built anything that could survive that kind of environment. We have deep-sea submersibles that can handle big-time pressure, but not the heat. There are space capsules that can withstand extreme temperatures, but only for a few minutes. Even nuclear reactor walls, designed to handle serious pressure, would crumble if acid rained on them nonstop. Now, a funny twist of this story is that landing on Venus was already achieved in 1970. Venera 7 became the first spacecraft to land on another planet and transmit data back to Earth, surviving on Venus's surface for a full 23 minutes before melting down. It proved the impossible was possible, just not for Kosmos 482. So, what went wrong with Kosmos 482? We've always imagined space travel as firing up the spaceship, launching it, and that's it. However, that's not how it works. First, with an initial boost, you park it in Earth's orbit, like pulling into space's driveway. Then comes a second burn, a precisely timed engine firing that pushes the spacecraft out of orbit and toward its destination. Kosmos 482 made it to the parking orbit just fine, but something went wrong with the second push. No push means no trip. So instead of heading to Venus, it got stuck circling Earth for the next 50 years. But why does something get stuck orbiting for so long? Well, when something gets launched into space, it's not just going up. It's also going really fast sideways. If you throw a baseball up hard enough, it'll eventually hit the ground. But if you could throw it fast enough and Earth wasn't in the way, it would just keep falling around the planet. That's what orbiting means, falling but never hitting the ground. The object's forward speed balances perfectly with the gravity pulling it down. So, to leave Earth, a spacecraft needs to pass through 3 layers. The first is low Earth orbit, or LEO, a few hundred miles up. Here is where satellites, the space station, and tons of leftover junk circle the planet. Kosmos never made it past this point. If the second launch had been successful, it would have gone through medium Earth orbit, where GPS satellites cruise. Then, way out at 22,000 miles, there's geostationary orbit, the sweet spot for weather reports and TV. So now we know how Kosmos ended up there and why it was orbiting for so long in LEO. But what made it suddenly change its mind and fall back? Even in LEO, space isn't completely empty. There's still a tiny bit of atmosphere up there, and over time, it acts like a brake, slowing things down just enough. Think back to that baseball you threw sideways fast enough to orbit Earth. Eventually, it will slow down to the point where gravity takes over. However, Earth is securely protected by its atmosphere. As objects fall back to Earth, Their speed keeps increasing up to tens of thousands of miles per hour. When you're moving that fast, the air pushes back really hard. That push creates friction, and friction creates heat, a lot of it. The surface of falling objects can reach over 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, causing them to melt, shatter, or vaporize completely before they ever hit the ground. That's why scientists don't lose sleep over small debris. Small pieces of old satellites, even tools lost during spacewalks, fall all the time. But they burn up like shooting stars. We just never notice them. Now, a baseball would disintegrate instantly. But what about a giant ball designed to withstand landing on Venus? Thankfully, this potentially horrifying story is anticlimactic, because Kosmos crashed into the Indian Ocean west of Jakarta on May 10, 2025. Radar picked it up streaking through the sky, glowing, breaking, heating up, but still intact enough to make it all the way down. And it did, thankfully, not somewhere crowded. However, now that it's lost beneath the waves, we are free to speculate. How real was the danger? Could it have fallen into a crowded area? Absolutely. If that 1,000-pound capsule had come down over a city, it could have smashed through rooftops, wrecked cars, or worse, seriously injured someone. And no, there wouldn't have been sirens or alerts. Kosmos 482 was launched in the 1970s, long before GPS or live tracking, so there was no signal to follow, no proper guidance system. Scientists could only make rough estimates about where it might land, so if it had come down over land, it would have looked like a meteor. Well, the story of Kosmos, with the K, had a happy ending. But it's not the only thing up there that could fall down. As of early 2025, about 11,700 satellites are active. But with roughly 14,900 in orbit, that means over 3,000 are no longer operational. And the space junk keeps piling up. Space tracking systems monitor more than 40,000 objects that are bigger than a softball, such as pieces of old satellites and bits of rockets. Scientists estimate there are over 1 million fragments larger than a half an inch, and more than 100 million smaller bits still floating around. These can't hurt us down on Earth, but most of it clutters LEO, where collisions can generate explosive clouds of debris, damaging satellites and space stations. Just one crash can trigger a chain reaction called Kessler syndrome, where each impact creates more debris, leading to more collisions until Earth's orbit turns into a demolition derby. Remember the movie Gravity? Yeah, like that. And yes, bigger things from LEO do fall. Kosmos 482 wasn't the first space object to come crashing back. In 2016, Tiangong-1 space station lost contact and tumbled back to Earth 2 years later, eventually burning up over the Pacific. In 2001, the famous Mir station was intentionally brought down. And before that, in 1991, Salyut 7, another space station, unexpectedly deorbited. The 40-ton station broke up on re-entry, and parts that survived scattered over Argentina. Among others, in 1979, NASA's Skylab, the very first American space station, fell back to Earth with only partial control. Pieces of it rained down across Western Australia. Some newspapers even offered cash rewards to anyone who found a chunk. So, we've seen this happen before. Kosmos was just the latest reminder. But NASA and other space agencies do think about this problem. And most modern spacecraft designed to return have parachutes, heat shields, and built-in safety systems to guide them home. But not working satellites and old junk. Yeah, they're still up there. So next time, a space object might not land safely in the ocean. It might crash through your roof while you're watching a Brightside video. But don't worry. That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright side.